Welcome to Team Talk Tuesday on Association Edge. Join Kelly Dando and her team as they dive into the real conversations that matter in association management. Every Tuesday, they bring practical insights and proven strategies from managing over 70 professional associations across the country. Board dynamics, volunteer leadership, member engagement, and operational efficiency. It's about the challenges you face every day and the wins that make all the difference. This isn't theory. It's real talk about building associations that truly succeed. This is Team Talk Tuesday on Association Edge.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to season 2 of Team Talk Tuesday. We're starting the year off strong in late January. We have a fun topic today, and it's perfect timing for this topic. It's annual reporting and the value of looking at historical data. And so I think now is the perfect time because a lot of our clients are on a calendar year or we're nearing the end of their fiscal year. And so we wanted to talk about the things that we look at. What are red flags? What are metrics that we find valuable for association? Let's start with Emily. Emily, what are things that you like to track within metrics for our associations?
Yeah. I definitely think attendance at events is very helpful. Number of members, kind of, and even types of membership. What types of membership are you seeing? What types of members are attending the event? So putting that all together, those are kind of the top things that I like to track.
Jamie, what about you?
I agree with what Emily said, but also I like to see the topics that chapters are offering. I like to see that they're putting thought into it. It's not just randomly picking things throughout the year to make sure that, you know, I think our clients who do the best are the ones who have taken the time to prepare. And I think that preparation is very visible in the offerings that they have throughout the year and the satisfaction of their members.
Yeah, that's a really good point. A lot of the health metric that we look at for associations is it comes down to attendance and participation, right? As
Mhm,
Hmm.
thinking
mhm.
about what are those metrics and how do they look? We were talking before we got on this fun podcast about running heat maps. So we'll run a heat map for an association and see where all their members are located. And then you'll, for example, see that they're holding their meetings extremely south of where all of their members work. And that's a good red flag for, hey, you might not be meeting your members' needs for locations for these events. So, we've seen problems like that come up that we can easily address, but there are also more difficult problems. So, we were also talking about board attendance. How do you all feel about tracking board attendance?
I think it's so important to be able to see the board members that are present. I've worked in a lot of organizations where there have been super active boards and others where it's been a pretty lame duck board. And I think your membership suffers for that. And I think being able to track that data, not only to hold the board members accountable, but also as an example for future board members to come and the membership. I think it's important for members to be able to see that the people who are the most invested in these organizations are the ones who are also participating.
Yeah, I think leading by example and accountability, like you said, that makes a big difference for
So
the
it's
future.
interesting because we had a conversation with one of our clients. They had said, hey, what do you think the magic sauce is for a successful organization? Because we do manage multiple chapters of several associations. And those are always the most interesting to me to analyze because you might have one that's successful, one that's not successful. And I've always said the magic sauce is the board. When we do
Mhm.
strategic planning or when we see a board and those board members genuinely like each other and they're seeing each other like maybe even over the weekend or they enjoy going to meetings with each other, that's a metric we can't measure through participation, but I find it to be so incredibly valuable in terms of the success of an organization. What do you all think?
I a
I
1000% agree.
Yeah,
I mean, a motto for life that I have is why do it if it's not fun? So I
yeah,
think I think the people who are enjoying what they're doing, this is a volunteer gig for them. But if they're enjoying it, then I think it just spills over to everything else that they do.
Yeah.
yeah, and the culture of the board is so important, and that trickles down to membership too.
Right.
Yeah, and there's some things you can't quantify like that. In terms of things that we can quantify, I mean, we can look at participation, we can look at financials. I mean, I think one of the major things that we report on, obviously, is the financial security of an organization. So, what are some red flags that you all take note of if we see something on the financial side of things?
I don't have a huge opinion on this right now. The clients that I'm managing are all doing really well financially, so I haven't seen anything recently.
But Jamie, you brought up the red flag of too much cash before. So, talk more about.
Right. I mean, I think I will talk about that. I think it's a really nice red flag to have if we're
Yeah.
collecting red flags. Yeah, if an organization, especially a 501(c)(3) or 501 or 501(c)(6) is sitting on too much cash, like what's the why? What's the reason? There's so many opportunities that these nonprofits and these associations have to give back to their national organization, their local community, their
Their
members.
membership.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's just so many different ways, and I think too, that's our job to come in and really open their eyes to that because that might not be something that's even on their radar.
That's a
Yes, and we
great
are
point.
lucky at managing all of the associations we manage. None of them have cash flow struggles. They're all very well managed. But for me, if I
Yeah.
see an association losing money, it's a hard stop. I mean, even a regional conference. We had a regional
Sure.
conference that I flagged one time because all of our regional conferences make so much money. And I'm like, why did this conference lose money? And this
Right.
was not a conference we managed, it was one we were taking over. And it just, it's not a good place to be, and there's
Right.
no reason for it in terms of there are things you can fix to keep that from happening.
Right. To quote a show that I've watched recently, a problem is something that you can fix, you know? So there's good problems and bad problems. And one of the problems that I've seen hasn't necessarily been a financial flow issue. It's been a lack of participation on the leadership level, which has then trickled down to membership. So I haven't had
Yeah.
any clients who've necessarily had issues with a cash flow loss, but with a lack of enthusiasm from the board. So it's really just how do we equip these boards that we're helping with that data to make those decisions.
Well, and then even when they have the data, doing something with it, right? So, for example,
Right,
we pull top 10 participants in an association. Who's coming to
right,
events? Okay, well, you have that data. What do you do with it now? Are these people on
right,
committees? We provided a list where not even half of them were on a committee. Okay, these are your prime committee members to move up to your board.
right.
Like that, I think that boards need assistance with because they might get those lists and then have nothing, they don't know what to do with it. Emily, do you want to talk about your analogy?
Yeah, I think just making sure, if you're pulling all this data, making sure that you're doing something with it. Once you see the results, like have an action to move forward with it. So I was talking about, if you have an Apple Watch or an Aura Ring, you're seeing, oh, I sleep poorly on the nights, where you have wine or something. Okay, well, then maybe
Never.
stop drinking the wine or, just developing an action from the data. I think just looking at it doesn't really do much, but using it to develop that pipeline for the board. These are the people that attend the most meetings. Yes, let's get them on the committee, get them more involved. That's exactly what you want to do with the data.
Well, and
Yeah.
I love the metrics related to strategic planning too. So let's say we have our three goals for an association and let's make them up. One's to grow membership, one's to get more involvement, and one is to retain members, right? Those need to be reported on very frequently. So it's not
Hmm.
something you
Mhm.
report once and say, hey, oh, our retention rate is 90%. No, you need to be on top of that so that you're saying, hey, we have not had this many members renew. It really is something, those metrics are something that you have to stay on top of. Otherwise, it's pointless to get them once a year and try to figure out what to do with them.
Yeah,
Totally.
that's a good
I
point.
also
Frequency.
I think that that onus also comes back on us. I mean, yes, at the end of the day, the board is the one who's governing this organization, but I think as an association management company, it is our duty to remind them of these things. If it's not something that's being talked about, we need to bring it to their attention. They pay us for a reason, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
I
and it's
think
funny. Oh, go ahead, Emily.
No, I was just gonna say just another point thinking about data. My example was, okay, go fix it, go take action, fix them. But I think you can also use it to celebrate and acknowledge, when you see
Mhm.
this person has attended the most meetings, could you do an award or something like that where you're also celebrating the data that you get too?
I have a
Yeah.
question for you both.
Yes.
Did you either of you get perfect attendance in school?
Yes. And you
How
know
does that
what?
make you feel?
I
Like
got
nothing kids
close.
forget perfect attendance anymore because we take days off because life isn't about perfect attendance.
That's true.
Exactly. If you gave me a
That's true.
participation award, I don't know what I would do with it. I'm not gonna lie to
Emily,
you.
were you perfect attendance?
I would say maybe I'd have, like, 1 or 2 sick days. I
I
got
was
really
never
bad.
allowed. I have a
You still
certificate
went.
for every year. My mom
Yeah,
was like, "Hate it, get to school."
yeah,
Jamie, what about
that's
you?
funny.
I think you both know the answer of whether or not I was a perfect attendance school kid.
That's funny.
So, no, I wasn't. I really enjoyed my Days of Our Lives and Price is Right days that I got.
That's
So,
Yeah, I
funny.
totally give my kids 1 day a school year where they can just play hooky.
it's great.
That's
It's
nice.
important.
We never had that.
It is, and you get that in life, right? Even with
Yeah.
work, if you have a day where you're like, "Man, I just can't do it today."
I need a minute, yeah.
If that's a motivator, use it. But this goes back to knowing your members. So the chapters who know their members and know that that's something that they value, yes, give them a cup, give them a
Yeah.
members only
Give them an
jacket.
award, celebrate,
Yeah.
yeah.
Do y'all feel like the younger generation coming into associations like getting awards? Where are we? We had a generation where nobody got awards. You just put your head down, you did your work, and you were paid what you were paid. Then we had a generation where everybody gets an award. You
Yeah.
show up, here's a
Participant,
trophy. So where do
yeah.
we think we are with generations and associations and how that looks?
Emily, go first.
It's a good question. I'm hoping that we can meet in the middle somewhere with the current generation, but I'm not sure how they feel. I think it's a
I feel like they like recognition. I feel like when we
yeah, I think
recognize online and when we give
yeah,
awards,
that's true.
I feel
Social
like,
media and
yeah, we've done some emerging leader awards recently, and I feel like those have been really popular and we've gotten some great participation. So I still feel
yeah,
like we're in the stage where people like recognition.
I like
I
that.
agree.
That's
I
a
mean,
good
if you think about
idea.
it, we live in an instant gratification world right now. So if you do something,
Yeah,
you want that instant, constant recognition. So yeah.
Well, and
that's
I
a
will
good point.
say, in terms of pulling these reports and doing these things, it is so much easier for us with our life and using AI to analyze even some numbers or we use private systems to I can create endless reports
Right.
for a client, right? But once again, the question is I've sent a client just recently something and I've said, "Hey, is this overwhelming?" Because it was so much reporting and gave so much insight into the association that it's kind of like I don't want to give a board so much that they spend 2 hours looking at the metrics. That's silly.
Yeah,
Well, I think it's important to
maybe
give them
breaking it up.
all of the information, but I think it's also very important for them to make the decision on what's important for them, and what they should focus on for the following year.
Yeah, and
It's
it's
true.
interesting to tie that back into what their strategic plan is because a lot of the data we're giving is beyond what their goals are. And so then the question is, does that influence your goals the next year? Are we making progress in membership to the point that maybe that's not necessarily a goal? Maybe we need to focus on now keeping all of these members we have. I feel like it's such a cyclical model
Mhm.
achieve something, now we have something else. We achieve this, now we have something else. And then I think the metrics play a really major role in how that looks.
I think this also goes to say that strategic planning is something that needs to be done on a regular basis. I mean,
Yeah.
I think every honestly 2 to 3 years is when it needs to be revisited because to your point, if a chapter is doing really well, like they've reached the top, they're in the top tier of members. I mean, it's not that we have to abandon recruiting new members, but it's kind of taking care of itself. So we now have the opportunity to make another element of this association even better. So what a great problem to have.
It is a great problem. It's really anticlimactic though, don't you think, Emily? Because we have a chapter that we push, we push, we push. We're like, we want to be number one. We want to be number one. And then that client hits number one. And it's like, all right, now what? Now
Yeah,
it's a great problem to have, but now we can focus on another chapter and get them to be number.
yeah,
And then it's like you're constantly fighting your best self.
yeah.
Well, then you get another chapter up there and then it's a nice little friendly competition.
It is. We love that.
That's
We love
true.
having multiple clients in one association because we create our own competitive nature to win, which I think is awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
So,
that is fun.
Yes, it is.
and that is why Jamie likes to come to work.
Yes,
But
Okay.
occasionally she takes a mental health day.
that's true.
So this concludes our first session of our season 2 of Team Talk Tuesdays. So we will have more to come weekly. this season we have put together a really awesome calendar. So our first three podcasts are just going to be internal team talking about certain topics that we think are important now that we're starting the beginning of the year. And then we're going to start interviewing some really fun people. We have some great interviews coming up. So send us questions, send us topics. Jamie?
Guys, guess how we got there? Strategic planning.
That's
Fact.
true. We did
Strategic planning. All right.
We did
We will
that.
see everyone next week. Thanks so much.
Bye, y'all.